Welcome to LANTITEPrep.com. In this lesson, we'll cover everything you'll need to know about fractions to help you ace your LANTITE exam. Without further ado, let's begin. Starting with recalling that fractions show us how many equal parts are in a whole. Here, we have 1/2. Here, we have 1/4, which we can also say 1/4. And here, we have 1/3. And we can continue slicing up the pizza in many varieties. Take a moment to pause the video and see if you can identify the correct fraction for each pizza. Then, push play once you're ready to check the answers. Here we go. How'd you do? Great. Next, let's recall about equivalent fractions. Remember, some fractions may appear different but actually represent the same value. For instance, 1/2, 2/4, and 3/6. Keep in mind that on exam day, you may be asked to present an answer using the simplest form of the fraction. Using the 3 illustrations on the screen now, can you recall which is already written in the simplest form? That's right, it's 1/2. Well done. Moving on, let's keep in mind that fractions have a numerator and a denominator. The number on the top is called the numerator, and it is the number of parts we have. The number on the bottom is called the denominator, and it is the number of parts the whole is divided into. Excellent. Now let's move on to adding fractions. With like denominators is simple. For example, 1/8 plus 3/8 equals 4/8. Notice that if the denominators are the same, we simply keep the denominator the same and add the numerator. Well, that's simple and all, but how about adding fractions with different denominators? In this case, we must make the denominators the same. Let's look at this example where we have 8/10 and 2/5. Pause the video and see if you remember how to add these together. Push play when you're ready for an explanation. Let's walk through solving this. We've rewritten the problem to be a little easier to work with. When the denominators are different, we need to find a common denominator. To do so, we'll look at the two bottom numbers and find the lowest number that fits into both numbers. In this case, that number is 10. So we can scratch out the 5 and make it a 10. To turn 5 into 10, we needed to multiply by 2. And remember that whatever you do on the bottom, you've also got to do to the top. You've also got to do on the top. So we'll scratch out the 2, multiply it by 2, multiple it by 2, and that gives us a new numerator of 4. Now, our denominators on both fractions are the same. So we can easily solve this, which comes to be 12/10. However, your exam may require you to demonstrate your ability to simplify the fraction to its lowest terms. That would turn out to be 6/5. Now, try to solve a problem with the different denominators that uses subtraction. Pause the video, give this one a try, and push play when you're ready. Excellent. Now let's walk through how to solve this. 12. Now, let's update the numerators. 4 became 12 by multiplying by 3. So we'll take 3 times 3, which gives us 9. And on the second fraction, we took 6 times 2 to make 12. So we'll take 2 times 5, which gives us 10. Subtracting straight through gives us -1/12. Wonderful job. Now, let's recall how to multiply fractions. When completing your exam, keep in mind that there are 3 simple steps to multiplying fractions. First, multiply the top numbers, the numerators. Second, multiply the bottom numbers, the denominators. And finally, simplify the fraction if needed. Give these 3 example problems a try and put your answers in simplest form. Then come back to check your solutions. Ready? Wonderful. Here we go. Our first 2 solutions both come out to 2/3, and the problem at the bottom comes to 7/12. But what happens on exam day if you receive a problem that looks like this? Remember these? This is called a mixed fraction. because alongside the fraction, it also includes a whole number. Let's walk through how to solve this. First, we need to convert the mixed fraction to an improper fraction by multiplying the denominator by the whole number. In this case, that's 4 times 2. And then we take that product, which is 8, and add it to the numerator. And now we can rewrite this into 11 fourths. Notice how the denominator stays the same? Now, the problem is simple, and we can multiply the tops and bottoms to arrive at 88 over 36, which can be simplified to 22 over 9. Great. Now, give this problem a try and come back to check your solution. Alright, our first fraction turns into 29 over 6. When we multiply that out, it becomes 319 over 24, which cannot be simplified. Now, what happens on test day if you're asked to turn an improper fraction, such as our answer, 319 over 24, into a mixed number? Give that a try and come back to see how we can solve that. Alright, if we had 319 over 24 and we're asked to create a mixed number from it, remember that the bar in the middle also works as a division sign, where we can literally take 319 divided by 24. Doing this long division will inform us that 24 goes into 319, 13 times with 7 remaining. Knowing this, our mixed number would come out to 13 and 7 over 24. Great job with mixed fractions. Let's now move to dividing fractions. If on exam day you are presented with a problem requiring you to divide fractions, just remember to turn the second fraction upside down, then multiply. Take a look at this example and try to solve it. Then come back to check your solution. Great. Let's see how we can find the answer. Step 1 is to turn the second fraction upside down. It becomes a reciprocal. Step 2 is to change the division sign into a multiplication sign and multiply the first fraction by that reciprocal. Step 3 is to simplify the fraction. Alright, so by now you can add, subtract, multiply, and divide fractions, as well as mixed numbers. But what if on exam day you're asked to, which of these is larger? How can we tell? Well, first, let's look at the same denominator method. Recall that two fractions have the same denominator. They are easy to compare. So let's first jump to examples showing fractions that have the same denominator. Look at the illustrations as well as the fractions written below. What similarities and differences do you notice? Well, I noticed straight away that the size of the pizza gets smaller by one slice. Then, I also notice as the amount of pizza slices decreases or becomes fewer, so does the numerator, as it decreased by 1 each time. Lastly, I noticed that the denominators are all the same. They're all 8. We can see that when the denominator is the same, we can look to the numerator to compare the fraction size. And as long as the denominators are the same, the larger the numerator, the greater the fraction. Okay, great. We understand this. But how about back to our original problem to see which is better, 6/7 or 6/9? When the denominators are different, we need to make them the same by finding a common denominator. To do so, find a number that both denominators, in this case 7 and 9, go into equally. That number is 63. Step 2 is to convert fractions to equivalent fractions by changing the denominators to the common factor, which is 63, and then updating the numerators by the same multiple that we changed the denominator from, which gives us new fractions, 54 over 63 and 49 over 63, which brings us to our next step, which is to compare the numerators to see which is bigger. With the denominators the same and the numerators updated, comparing the fractions becomes clear that 54 over 63, which used to be 6 over 7, is greater than 7/9. Get all the test prep that makes passing your LANTITE test simple by visiting LANTITEPrep.com and clicking the button in the top right corner to get full access now. Thank you for watching, and I look forward to teaching the next lesson.